Hey guys, what's up? Hope everyone's having a great day, and I really do hope you're doing well out there in the world. Okay, so we are still looking at what Ambi Pants had to say on the stand when she was just a witness in the UK trial when Depp took NGN and Dan Wooten to task for calling him a wife popper. Now, the last video, my absolute favorite. I think that was my favorite part of the whole trial was when she had to explain why one incident turned into two. It's very interesting. If you have not seen it, I'm going to link it for you here. And let's just get right into it. So that's where they cut off. And then they went for a short break. And then Miss Laws, who is Depp's attorney, was a Depp's attorney for the UK trial, they're going into Australia. And honestly, this is one of my favorites too. So strap in, grab your beverage of choice, grab a snack as we look at the remainder of day 11 of Depp versus NGN and Dan Wooten, who I'm going to say this again. I don't know if I said it before. Dan Wooten never showed up for this trial. He was a named defendant and he never showed up for the trial. He said in his own words, "I sent in Amber on my behalf." Okay, so after this short break right here, it says, Miss Laws said, "My lord, I'm now dealing with another of the incidences that was mentioned in documents relating, in fact, to the libel proceedings." And Justice Nicol, "Just before the break, you said you were going to turn to Australia." Miss Laws, "That is the one, yes. Australia, my lord, is in fact pleaded incident 8 and it is dated in March of 2015. And Justice Nicol, "Yes." Miss Laws, "Could I ask you, Miss Heard, to go to your witness statement dated December 15th, which is last year, which is in file 2. They're just looking for the documents. She says, "Yes, I have them." Question. It is headed, that page, Australia, March 2015. We deal with a lot of the row, which I'm not going to ask you questions about. I think we already dealt with the fact that there was a row, there was a disagreement about exactly the nature of the row, but there had been a row between you and Mr. Depp about a prenup. Can I go to actually what you say happened? If we go straight to paragraph 102, 3-day hostage situation, you were there for 3 days on your own. Essentially, you were trapped in a violent situation with multiple incidences of serious violence. That is right, as a summary of what your allegation, is it not? Amber, yes. I'm going through exactly what you say happened in terms of the physical violence involved. Extreme acts, you say, of physical and emotional psychological violence. You were left with an injured lip, nose, and cuts on your arm. Amber, yes. Miss Laws, where were you injured on your nose? In your statement, do you know? Let us go through it and we will see. Day 1 then deals with this behavior. I'm going to ask about what he physically did to you. In fact, we have at the bottom of paragraph 103, the last sentence, "He pushed me into the fridge and slapped me. He grabbed a bottle of wine or booze and then took a swig from it." Then the next physical activity is further down on 104. And Justice Nicol, is there a question about the last sentence of paragraph 103? Miss Laws, I'm just at this stage of going through the physical acts of violence in order to ask Miss Heard what injuries were sustained or whether in fact she can relate to any of those injuries to the injuries she had just effect at paragraph. And Justice Nicol, this is further preliminary to the next question. Miss Laws, this is the point of the physical activity at the injuries. So we have him pushing into the fridge, slapping you in the face, paragraph 104. Do you see that? Amber, paragraph 104. Miss Laws, 104, yes, physical activity again at 107. And Justice Nicol, at 104, I tried to push past him, but he pushed me to the ground. I fell like a rag doll. Miss Laws, and then slapped you in the face. That is 104. Can you see that? Amber, yes, I can. And Justice Nicol, sorry, 104, slap to the face. I cannot for the moment see that, but just help me. Miss Laws, all right. I fell like a rag doll and I got back up. He said something like, "You want to go? You want to fight, tough guy?" And he slapped me in the face. I got away from him. And Justice Nicol, I have seen that now. Miss Laws, just to deal with the last sentence of 103, it is in relation to Mr. Depp grabbing a bottle of wine and taking a swig of it, and at some point taking a handful of ecstasy. I'm going to suggest that is untrue. Is it not? Yes or no? Amber, no, I watched him do it. Then we have dealt with paragraph 104, paragraph 107. He grabbed me by the neck, shoved me against the fridge, crushed my neck, glass was breaking. He had you by the hair. Amber, where are you now? Oh my God, Amber, it's your fucking statement. Anyway, Miss Laws, 107, do you have that? Do you have 107, Miss Heard? Do you have that paragraph? Amber, yes, I have that paragraph. Miss Laws, he grabbed you, you say, by the neck, shoved you against the fridge. Amber, it's a different day though. Miss Laws, ah, yes, day 2. I'm just talking about the whole situation first. He had you by the hair, hit and slapped you in the face, kept attacking you during the day. The last line, he hit you, pushed you, choked you, spat in your face. Do you see that? Amber, yes, that was while he was still holding me against the wall when he spat in my face. Miss Laws, then paragraph 108, in terms of the physical assaults on you, you say, after screaming at you, so it's right toward the bottom of that page, he put the broken bottle against you. You thought he was going to headbutt you, and in fact, he was out of control. Then what happened next physically was at the top of 108 there, he grabbed you by the hair, hurled you around, you fell on the table, collapsed under you, he ended up on top of you. Do you see that, 108? Amber, I do. Then 109, there was broken glass everywhere. He grabbed you by the neck. He kept smashing your head against the fridge, swearing at you. Your feet were getting cut, yes? Remember, yes. As long as he grabbed you against the front of your gown and had you up against the fridge, ripped off your gown. Paragraph 110, you refer to a phone on the wall next to a fridge. At some point, he picked it up, smashed it against the wall next to you, right next to your face, smashing it so many times hard that it was smashed to pieces. It is at that point you have said in earlier documents, and I can take you back to them, that he sliced his finger. Amber, I do not know. I did not see his finger go off. I think you say in your statement you developed your account and said that you did not see it, and indeed saw it the next day. Amber, I did not see the fingertip ever, I believe, but I have been able to go through those memories in my head, and that was my best guess for how it got severed. Then 112. Glass broken everywhere on the floor, countertop. He pulled you around by the neck, pushed you down against the bar. At this point, you were naked and he was pressing so hard on your neck, you could not breathe. This continued for some time. You kept kicking your feet, using your forearms to try to raise yourself up, cutting. And Justice Nickel, where are we now? I was using my forearms to raise myself up? Miss Laws, yep, on the broken glass on the counter, pleading to stop. And Justice Nickel, and cutting myself on the counter. Miss Laws, you were cutting yourself here on the broken glass on the counter, using your forearms to essentially raise yourself to push him away or run away. Amber, there he was putting so much pressure on my neck that I could not get any words out. I could not reason with him to stop pushing. He was pushing so hard, and I could not get a purchase of my arms because the countertops were covered in glass and liquid from all the broken bottles he had thrown at me. I was naked and my feet were bare, so I also could not get a purchase with my feet. So I remember I just kept trying to get a purchase on the slick floor and on the slick countertops. So I was trying to push away from the countertop so it would alleviate the pressure to my neck so I could breathe. I had been so long since I could breathe, and he was pushing so hard, I thought he would not. I thought he had lost control and would not know what he had done. I thought he would not be able to know that he had. I was trying to get through to him but I could just not. I was slipping everywhere, slipping on the glass, I was slipping on the countertops. Miss Laws, slipping on the glass, slipping on the countertop? Amber, yes, ma'am. And the glass was covered in broken glass? Amber, the countertops were covered and the floor was. Miss Laws, I think 114, you say, at some point I got out, I had cut myself all over and still have scars on the bottom of my feet and my arms from slipping on the glass. So the marks on your arm, because you produce a picture, would be as a result of pushing yourself against all this broken glass with both your arms in order to get away from him and also trying to run away, glass on the floor? Amber, the cuts, at least from what I remember, although I do not really remember it hurting the glass itself, weirdly, but I think the cuts were from the slipping of my feet. I felt like I kept hitting a ledge, like a grout or a tile or something on the floor, and I kept feeling my feet push against something, but I could not get them to purchase on anything. Saws, you cut yourself all over. You have said here, I cut myself all over. Was that true? Amber, meaning my arms, my feet, my hands. Miss Laws, your hands? Amber, my hands. And Justice Nickel, glass, hands, and feet. Amber, bottom of my feet were the worst. I guess they were some kind of towards my wrist area. What? Miss Laws, palms, hands, feet on your wrist? Amber, not palms so much. It was more of, and everyone was over speaking. Miss Laws, arms or palms? Amber, not palms. The bottom of my arms, bottoms of the forearms, top wrist at the heel. Miss Laws, do we take it you did not have your hands on the counter? It was your arms that were on the counter? Amber, my arms were on the counter. Both of them like that against the glass, being scraped along? Amber, basically. Being scraped along the surface, yes? Amber, yes, I was trying to get, one of my hands had gotten free at some point and I was trying to push him off of me. And I remember I was trying to get through to him. I do not know what I was saying. Johnny, Johnny, it's me. Stop. It's me. You're really hurting me. Johnny, stop, please. It was like he could not hear me. So, sorry. Can I ask you to go to file 6, please? Amber, of course. Miss Laws. In fact, it's 148. And the number at the photograph is 4895. I'll put it up here if we have it. She's missing, they're looking for it. Miss Laws, if you are in fact in B, can I ask you, we will come back to that. Have a look at 894051. Again, I'll put it up if we have it. That is the only photograph you produce in relation to this incident of injuries. Oh, we have that. You say you sustained whilst in Australia during this incident. Is that right? Amber, yes. Well, what happened to your nose? What happened to your lip? What happened to the nose, Amber? Oh my God. Miss Laws, who took the photographs? Amber, I did. And Justice Nickel, just a minute. Who took the photograph of 49 and 50? Just the answer is you did. Amber, yes. These were in the bathroom of the room that I was in. Miss Laws, you wrote that. Call Carly Simon. She said it better, babe. Amber, no, I did not write that. Oh my God. So if you guys have not seen the Andy files, there's a playlist of the Andy files, and Andy goes through all the images and every single little thing that changes within those images from Australia, 3-day not a hostage situation. He does a phenomenal job. You will not see this in any Netflix documentary. You will not see this really anywhere else. Andy only sent it to a few of us. So go check it out. He's done an amazing job. And Justice Nickel, the question is, you wrote, call Carly. She said it better, babe, and you said you did not write that? Amber, no. Ms. Laws, I think some photographs were produced by the defense, high-resolution photographs of a number of the purported injuries, but we do not have a high resolution of this one. Looking at it and taking into account the fact that it is a bit blurry. Justice Nickel, are we in 51? Ms. Laws, we do not have a high-resolution photograph of this one, but we appear to be looking at 2 scars. Is that right? Amber, no, there were more. Ms. Laws, how many on there? Amber, I do not know. There is many more than that. Ms. Laws, these are not scars sustained while you were literally writhing around trying to get away from Mr. Depp. Jagged, uneven. They are straightforward, straight line, are they not? Amber, no. Justice Nickel, well, it is suggested that these were not scars that you sustained in the attack on Australia. Do you agree or not with that? Amber, I do not agree. I know they are. Ms. Laws, I suggest that they are scars that are far more akin, and they are self-inflicted, straight and inflicted by you, and certainly not by struggle with Mr. Depp. Amber, I have had these scars on my arm since that evening, and I have never self-harmed. Johnny is a self-harmer. I am not a self-harmer. Ms. Laws, this photograph was taken how long after Australia? Amber, this was taken by my lawyers in 2000, probably 19, fairly recently, I would say, in relation to my libel case. I'm not a party to these proceedings, so... And there we have it. They're in her own goddamn words. I am not a party to these proceedings. Oh, fuck. Finally, she admits it. Okay. Miss Law, so sometime last year? Amber, yes, I believe so. So we have photographs of damage to the property, yes? Amber, no, that's just what room I was in. Miss Laws, but we do not have any photographs of injuries taken the injuries that you have described. And Justice Nickel, Miss Heard has said that the photograph 51 shows some of the injuries she sustained. Miss Laws, you have described this incident as a 3-day hostage situation, at one point barricading yourself into the bedroom. Amber, yes. Miss Laws, I'm just going to ask you to look at a photograph, please. File 9. Miss Laws, so this is a photograph. Do you recognize it as being the bedroom where you stayed in Australia? Amber, yes, I do. Miss Laws, with sliding glass doors. Amber, yes, I do. Miss Laws, and it goes out to a patio we see. Amber, yep. Miss Laws, in fact, there are some stairs down to go outside from that patio, are they not, from the outside? Do you remember that? Amber, no, I do not remember those stairs. Miss Laws, I'm going to suggest that you had the opportunity to leave. And Justice Nickel, I'm sorry, do you not remember the stairs down to the outside? Amber, no, not from that balcony. There may have been. And Justice Nickel, yeah, sorry, Miss Laws. What was the next question? Miss Laws, you had the opportunity to leave at any point during the 3 days, didn't you not? Amber, I could have called someone to come and get me, yes, but the property itself was quite isolated. Miss Laws, you have described yourself as being a hostage type situation. that is in your statement. I read it out earlier, yes? Amber, I said it was like one. Miss Laws, is that true? Amber, that is how I described it. Miss Laws, this is total lies, is it not? Because you had a cell phone. Amber, yeah. Miss Laws, if you were a hostage, you did not usually have one of those. And Justice Nickel, just a minute. You had a cell phone and you agree that you did? Amber, yeah, I did. Miss Laws, you could have contacted anybody. Amber, yeah, I could have. Miss Laws, if you had wanted to at any point. Amber, absolutely. Miss Laws, you could have left at any point, even on your account. No one was stopping you. Amber, I would need to be picked up, but yes, I could have called someone to do so. Miss Laws, and you did not need to barricade yourself in at any point, did you? Amber, I disagree. Ms. Laws, so do you accept that it is a total mischaracterization, even on your own account, to call yourself a hostage? Do you accept? Amber, absolutely not. This was my marriage. I lived in it. Ms. Laws, we also know, because we have the transcript of the tape, which I can come to, that there are 2 recordings post this incident, both made by you, were they not? Amber, no. Ms. Laws, no. 2 recordings. Ms. Laws, one of them is very long. That is right, is it not? And one of them is quite short. It was taken taken later on that day. Amber, I'm sorry, I only knew about one. We heard you turn off the tape. We heard you turn off the recording, Amber. We heard you walk to the phone, pick it up, and turn it off. Oh my God. I am convinced she was trying to record everything to make sure that Johnny didn't say that she did it. Like blame, like actually tell on her what she actually did. I am convinced of it to this day. She just wanted to know what people were saying about her because she knew she was in the wrong. Okay. And Justice Nickel, well, you have asked whether Miss Heard recorded both recordings, and she said no. Do you want to ask her whether she recorded anything? Miss Laws, did you record anything? Amber, I do not recall. Miss Laws, you do not remember. Amber, I do not know there were 2 recordings until you said so. Miss Laws, can we pull it the other way around then? Did you record anything? It sounds like if you were unsure. Amber, I am unsure. Miss Laws, you are not sure, so you might have done some recording. Amber, I have no idea. I did not do the one I am aware of, but I do know what? But I do not know what the other one is. I cannot speak to certainty about its origin. Miss Laws, have a think about it. You have described a really graphic 3 days of severe violence and hostage type situation. At any point during that, did you record it? Amber, if I may, Johnny and I only recorded each other throughout the relationship, and that was only when there would be some sort of therapeutic benefit to come from it at a later date. However, Johnny had taken a massive amount, maybe 8 to 10 MDMA, just that first night alone. Oh my God. What does that have to do with anything? Even if he did and survived to tell the tale of taking 8 to 10 MDMA tabs, what does that have to do with you recording things? Oh my God. Miss Laws, can I just ask you? Amber, and then on the second night, Miss Laws, to answer? Miss Amber, I'm trying to. On the second night, he took even more, and he did it both in front of me. So there was no value. There was no valuable conversation that was being had between us that would have warranted recording. Therefore, I do not imagine how I would have pushed record on anything intentionally, because the only reason to do so was to, at a later date, be able to speak about some of the issues that plagued the relationship, primarily the drug and alcohol abuse. Justice Nickel, Miss Heard, I think we've had your answer now, that you are not aware of having recorded anything, and that when you did record things with Mr. Depp, it was for purposes that you did not think would be served recording these incidences. Is that the answer? Is that the summary of your answer? Amber, yep, that sounds good. Yep. Miss Laws, thank you. Do you recall, and I can take you to the part of the tape, after Mr. Depp had left, calling your sister on the phone? Amber, I do not recall that. Miss Laws, I can play it if necessary, and I can certainly take you to it. But does this jog your memory? Do you remember telling Mr. Judge that you had called your sister? And Justice Nickel, sorry, this is remember telling Mr. Judge? Miss Laws, yes. Mr. Judge, who was there, we have heard him on the tape. I may need to go to the transcript, but if you recall it, I will not have to. Do you remember telling Mr. Judge that you had in fact called your sister? Amber, I do not recall telling Mr. Judge that or calling her. I do know that he said, what? He said I said that to him on the transcript. What? I do not recall telling Mr. Judge that or calling her. I do know that he said I said that to him on the transcript. Miss Laws. So you recall that part of the conversation where he recounts that you called your sister, and you have heard that, but you do not actually remember whether you called her? Amber. Exactly. Well, if we go to Jen Howell's testimony, I'm just going to interject here. If we go to Jen Howell's testimony, that actually lines up with what she said happened in the Art of Elysium office when Whitney got the call. That would line up that Amber called her sister and Whitney was on the other end, and Jennifer Howell heard the whole conversation on Whitney's end. All right. Ms. Laws, do you recall that part of the conversation where he recounts you? Okay. So Amber, exactly. Ms. Laws, I'm going to take you to it, in fact, just so there is no doubt about it. File 5, please. You can put the photograph to the sliding doors away. Okay, Ms. Laws. In fact, we can see on the first part of the tape that is not just Mr. Judge recounting it. We see you about halfway down. AH, do you see that? Amber, I do. What do you say? Amber, at what point? Ms. Laws, this is a major difference between my sister and I. Whatever you need, I love you, I am here. Then overleaf, in fact, it goes indistinct. So we have you on tape saying you called your sister. Amber, yes. Do you remember that now? Amber, no, again, I do not remember having done that. I do remember reading it in this second, but I do not remember that Johnny's doctors were trying to give me a lot of medication. They kept trying to medicate me. I remember fighting them on that. And Justice Nickel. Ms. Heard, let us just keep to the question. So this last one, I think, was, do you remember the call, having seen the transcript? Amber, I do not. Ms. Laws. The answer that you have given is that you do not, but you do not dispute that you said that on this day. Amber, exactly. Ms. Laws, the reality is if what you are saying is true, what happened to you was really traumatic and serious. You have called your sister, and it would be the very first thing you would tell her about. Is it not? What happened? All the violence? Amber, no. Ms. Laws, and you did not. Amber, I do not know what I said to her because I do not remember a phone call, but I certainly would not have. Ms. Laws, I would not know what I've said to her, but what did you add? Amber, I certainly would have not recalled to her everything that had just happened to me. Ms. Laws, can I just want to ask this? It is just an answer you gave earlier this afternoon that you did not record. In fact, we went over it at some length, that you did not make a lengthy recording. That was not yours? Amber, this one? Ms. Laws, yes, the one we just looked at. Ms. Laws, so Mr. Depp had left by the time that it happened. Amber, the recording started before he left. Ms. Laws, I'm sorry, I was being interrupted. That was my fault, not yours. Can you repeat your answer? Amber, of course. I said the recording had started some time before this transcript started, and even looking at it in a short glance, it appears to be different from the one that I have read before. She just admitted that she knew when the recording started. She just admitted it. Ms. Laws, can I just try to get to the bottom of this? This appears to be your exhibit, but put that aside for a moment because we will look into that. Amber, okay. Ms. Laws, are you saying that you did not make any recording whatsoever of either the violence or over those 3 days, or indeed when it ended and the aftermath, which we have heard, you made no recording? Amber, I was not the one to make the recording. Johnny picked up what I believe is my phone at the time. I could not have any lock or password on my phone. It would have been a whole other war. He picked up my phone and he was not saying many coherent things. I was trying to understand him. He pushed record, hence why I did not know this recording existed until way into my divorce after. Ms. Law, so we have an acceptance by you that there was a recording done on your phone. I think that's what you were saying. Amber, that I found it about years later. Ms. Law, that you just found out later that Mr. Depp had done? Amber, it was years later. I remember him picking up the phone and saying he was going to record, but I could not possibly imagine that he would actually have figured that out in the state he was in. He was rambling incoherently. I thought he threw it, but maybe he just threw it down. I cannot recall. Then I went home sometime later and found out about this recording out of the sheer length. It went on for, as I can recall, 7 or 8 hours because the application on which you record just runs in the background until you turn it off or the phone dies. So unbeknownst to, frankly, anyone, it was sitting out on the floor or on the table at some point. No one knew it was recording. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. If you had an 8-hour audio recording on your phone, that would take up so much room. And come on, Amber. We heard you pick it up. We heard you pick up the fuck. Anyway. And Justice Nickel, I think you said it was not you who pressed the record button. Amber, that is right. But you think it was done on your phone? Amber, because it was later came up in my divorce proceedings. Miss Laws, yes, it is on your phone. Amber, yes. You were just making this up as you go along, are you not? Amber, no, ma'am. None of that is in your statement. None of it. Amber, why would it be? Why would it be? I do not answer the questions, I'm afraid. Amber, I apologize. I mean, there was not every single detail of everything in my statement. There were many more. I'm sure there are, Amber. I'm sure there are. And Justice Nickel, you accept that you did not say in your statement that this happened. This happened with your phone, but that is your evidence as it what did occur? Amber, yes. As far as you know. Amber, yes. Ms. Laws, when did you come across the recording done by Mr. Depp? Amber, sometime in the divorce proceedings, way in, maybe if not after, because someone mentioned such a large audio file when it was being processed through document combers, if that's what you call them. Ms. Laws, there is a second recording later, hours later. Was that also on your phone? Amber, I have no idea what the second recording is. And Justice Nickel, do we have a transcript of that second recording? Ms. Laws, my lord, we do. I was not going to go to it, but I will get a reference for that in a second, if I may. And Justice Nickel, it is just that if you want to ask the witness a question about it, it might help her and help me if we can have the reference. But if you want to pause while that is obtained, Ms. Laws, I can carry on with the questions while it is obtained and deal with it at the first one. So it was recording for a number of hours. And Justice Nickel, are we talking about the one we were just looking at? Ms. Laws, the first. We will stick to the first until I have a reference for the second. We will stick to the first. It was a recording for a number of hours, and then you discover, when did you first discover your phone then after Mr. Depp had left? Amber, I think sometime the next day, I believe, they gave me some medications and I slept. Laws, we have just gone to the transcript at the beginning where you're telling Mr. Judge that you called your sister. Amber, yes. And arrangements were being made for you to be taken home? Amber, yes. So how did you manage to call your sister if the phone was recording? Amber, I have no idea. Maybe through my iPad or through FaceTime audio, through a computer or iPad? Ms. Laws, in case I did not make it clear, I just asked you, how did you make the call to your sister? And you said you thought you did it on an iPad. Is that right? Amber, I have no recollection of the call. And Justice Nickel, do you have an iPad? Amber, I do have an iPad, yes. Ms. Laws, why would you make a call on an iPad if you had a phone? Amber, if the phone was downstairs and I was upstairs, it could be for that reason. It could be for reasons international. Sometimes it's cheaper to call through FaceTime. But again, I will reiterate, I do not remember. And Justice Nickel, just a minute. Ms. Laws, you are someone who uses your phone a lot, are you not? Amber, sometimes. Ms. Laws, and someone who does not like to be far away from their phone very much. Amber, I would not characterize myself that way. And Justice Nickel, you would say you would not characterize yourself that way? Amber, exactly. She's fucking attached to that thing. Ms. Laws, just having a look at the other tape, my lord, it is at tab 156, section B, the same file, so we just need to go to the back. So they're looking for the Okay, so Ms. Laws, this is the audio that captures Mr. Depp because we can see JD there. Do you see that? Amber, yes. And then there comes a point fairly early on where you do not hear him anymore. He has been taken off. Is that right? Is it not? Amber, yeah. Then the recording goes on for hours, does it not? That recording? Amber, I only knew of one recording. So it is this recording that was on your phone? Amber, I only knew of one recording. So when you found a very long recording on your phone, you must have listened to it. Amber, no, it was 7 to 8 hours, and it was already when my devices were being given or had been given to my legal team to send to a document comber or document production service. So you never listened to it. Amber, at some point I heard bits, I believe, or maybe I just read transcripts. I cannot remember. Oh, you'd remember if you heard that audio. You would remember, Amber. You would. So this goes on for quite some time. We can see the very first page of that is nearly 5 hours long. Amber, yes. Going back to tab 158, in fact, the recording, the shorter recording. They're just trying to figure out the days. Miss Laws. It is 27 minutes. It says, do you see that? The one that I have just taken to you? Amber, yes. That is the one where you have said you called your sister and Mr. Depp is no longer around. Amber, yeah. These are both recordings from your phone. Amber, yes. So having a look here, it looks as if you have used your phone to call your sister before the second tape starts. Amber, I am unclear as to what makes you suggest that. Ms. Laws, well, it is right that your phone is doing the recording and then you are phoning your sister on your phone at some point. And Justice Nickel, well, let us ask those questions separately. Do you know if your phone was recording both of these recordings? Amber, I have no idea. I know of only one audio recording, and I suspect that these are the same recording that we only are cutting out and are maybe hours of silence between them. Amber, but that is my suspicion. And Justice Nickel, then you were asking Ms. Laws about the phone call to your sister? Ms. Laws, yes. And Justice Nickel, and whether that was on your mobile phone? Amber, correct. And Justice Nickel, was it on your mobile phone? Amber, again, I do not remember making the call. Amber, may I ask a question to you, Miss Laws? Oh, and Justice Nickel, I'm afraid, Miss Heard, that Miss Laws has explained it is a one-way conversation. Amber, I understand that, your lordship. And Justice Nickel, you must respond to the questions that are put to you, but because it's one-way conversation, it is not for you to ask a question to Miss Laws. Amber, I understand, your lordship. And Justice Nickel, unless, of course, you do not understand a question that has been put to, but let Miss Laws ask the next question. Miss Laws, so you do not recall whether both of these are recordings on your phone, but you certainly remember their earlier one, is that right? Amber, what I mean to say is I only recall having one recording. So what I mean to ask is, can I just have clarity as to where these came from? Ms. Laws, that's what I'm going to ask. They're from your phone. They are your documents. So I'm asking, are you suggesting that if it was one recording, what we have is an edited version? It must follow. Amber, I only know of one recording. And Justice Nickel, we have gone over this, Ms. Laws. I'm not sure whether it was value in going over it again. Ms. Laws, all right. Now, if you have indicated that your phone was left downstairs as the recording was made and you went upstairs to make the call to your sister, or you would have done on your iPad, that's what you just said? Amber, I do not recall making that call, but I did go upstairs at some point to fall asleep. Ms. Laws, when you were asked about why you would not have used your phone, you said it may have been left downstairs. So that would give an explanation for using your iPad or something like that, yes? Amber, sure. So if that was the case, how would you be able to have a conversation on an iPad if you were completely out of range of your phone? How would you be able to do that? Do you know? Amber, if I was upstairs? Ms. Laws, yes. Amber, and I didn't have my phone, my best guess is I would use FaceTime audio or potentially Skype. Ms. Laws, how would your phone pick up what you were saying on the recording if it was downstairs? Amber, I went downstairs at some point in the evening, or maybe it was early hours of the morning at a different time. Ms. Laws, it sounds from the recording like you simply saying you called your sister. Amber, yes. You were saying it within a very short range of your own phone. Amber, sounds like it. Ms. Laws, do you see 9872? You called her, did you? Amber, yeah, I called her. Amber's like, yep. And Justice Nickel, line 22, woman says, yeah, I called and said, I just need to come home. And she said, whatever you need. They're just trying to figure out where it is. Amber, okay, it seems like I was recounting a conversation I had upstairs with my sister. Ms. Laws, you were downstairs at the time you were saying it. Amber, that is where Jerry Judge would have been. Ms. Laws, so why are you not using your phone? Because you were downstairs. Amber, no, for this conversation with Jerry, I was downstairs. Ms. Laws, then at this point, you were downstairs. Amber, yes. Why are you not looking for your phone? Bearing in mind, it must have been very close to you, right next to you. It is recording away. Amber, unbeknownst to me, and if you were asking me the other question as to why I was not looking for my phone, I can tell you, after everything I had been through, I had been strangled, assaulted, punched, SA'd, strangled, amongst other things. The last thing I was concerned about was where my cell phone was. That's the first thing I would be concerned about. If all of that happened to me, my first concern would be, where is my phone? Because I need help. Miss Laws, you flew back with Mr. King, did you not, in the airplane? You were on the same flight? Amber, yes. And Justice Nickel, was that to Los Angeles? Amber, yes. Miss Laws, do you recall saying to him, have you ever been so angry with someone that you've lost it? Amber, I do not recall saying that specifically, but if I had, I would have been referencing Johnny. Miss Laws, that is a phrase that you use, is it not? That you get so angry that you lose it sometimes? It is a phrase you use, do you think? Miss Laws, are you asking whether she uses that phrase? Miss Laws, yeah. And Justice Nickel, or whether that indeed is the case. Miss Laws, just what I asked. Amber, I have used that phrase. I have heard that used a lot, but I believe I've used that in phrase before. Yeah, she had to because she knew she said it in a recording. Miss Laws, it is one of the phrases that you use, is it not? Amber, I have used it before. When you get back from Australia to the Eastern Columbia building, I think Mr. Depp joins you there within a matter of days, does he not? Amber, I do not recall exactly how long it was, but it was not very long. It is my recollection. I believe he first went to Sweetser, and then some days later, there was an issue around surgery, and we reconnected. Ms. Laws, you returned to Australia with him on the 21st of April, so just a matter of weeks after this incident, do you not? Amber, yes, no, that is not true. We returned on 21st of April, weeks after the incident on the stairs, March 2015. It was earlier in that same month, was Australia. March through the 8th, the 4th through the 8th. Miss Laws, the point is, you go back, not just to the country where this happened, but the exact same place that you were staying before. Amber, yeah. And Justice Nickel, just a minute. Did you agree? Amber, yeah. Was it the same house, he asked? Amber, yeah, it was, although it looked very different when we got back. Ms. Laws, the question was not what it looked like, but whether you went back there, and I think you agree you did go back to that very same property, yes? Amber, yeah, that's right. Ms. Laws, and into the same bedroom. Amber, yes. Within weeks of what happened in Australia. Amber, it was nearly 2 months later. Ms. Laws, the very place where you had felt unsafe and frightened in fear of your life because you were so isolated. Amber, that's not what made me fear for my life. Ms. Laws, you were in fear for your life and you felt isolated. You have given evidence earlier today about how you felt. You were a hostage because there was no one else around. Do you remember that evidence? And here we go. Amber, Johnny, the monster rather, nearly killed me, but I loved him. I loved the Johnny that was clean and sober. And I'm just going to interject, that had lots of money. And he made a promise to get clean and sober for good because he needed to be for his surgery. And when he appeared to pull through from that surgery, I really believed, as did so many other times, that it was bad enough to where he would actually get clean and sober for once. And that was the last time. And I had hoped that he would get better. I had so much hope this last time. It had been gone for good. The monster, as he would put it, had been put away forever, and that our lives would be better because of it. I just want to ask you about what you just said, that you loved him. We have heard evidence that this was the time when, let me ask a different question, if I may, a more straightforward one. If you have agreed to go back to the same place we have dealt with that, I'm going to suggest to you that there was absolutely no way at all you would go back to somewhere you felt so vulnerable if it had happened, but you disagree. Amber, it was not the place that made me feel vulnerable. It was the monster and the keys that allowed him to be unleashed. Loose. Miss Laws, you would never have gone back there if he had done that to you, just as he never assaulted you in any of the other ways that you have described, has he? Amber, of course I would go back to him if he had gotten clean and sober, which took a minute, but he needed to be there for surgery. And then he finally pulled through for that. He made promises that this was gone forever and this was over and the last of it, the worst of it was done. Justice Nicole. What is being put, I think, Ms. Heard, is that the fact that you went back to the same house shows that your account of the assaults that you say you had experienced in March of 2015 are untrue. Do you agree or disagree? Amber, I disagree. The house was not the problem. And Justice Nicole, thank you. Ms. Laws, I'm going to suggest at that time, August 2015, you were in fact in relationship or seeing Mr. Musk. Justice Nicole, just a minute. August? Ms. Laws, March, my mistake, March 2015. And Justice Nickel, put the question again. Ms. Laws, yes. March 2015, at the time of this incident, you returned back, and it is then, do you remember, Mr. Romero said it was well, Mr. Depp? And Justice Nickel, let's leave Mr. Romero out of it and just ask her what you want about Mr. Musk. Ms. Laws, he was seen at the apartment, was he not, in March? Amber, no, he was not. Ms. Laws, all right, can I take you finally to file 11, please, tab 158. They're trying to figure it out. And Justice Nickel, is this the one that has something paperwork for the Range Rover on top, Miss Laws? Miss Laws, yep, that's right. Do you see that? Amber, yes, I do. These are messages that have been referred to, but they are between you and Mr. Murphy, are they not? Amber, I cannot tell. Miss Laws, have a look at the text then. Paperwork for the Range Rover. I looked at it and the name on the insurance is just Johnny's. Can you please add me to the policy, or add my name rather? I can leave it for you on the table here at Penthouse 3 if you want. Does this jog your memory? Amber, yeah. As long as you were, when you got back, making arrangements in order to get yourself essentially on the insurance of the Range Rover, were you not? Amber, it was the car I drove. Then why weren't you on the insurance from the get-go, Amber? And Justice Nichols, so that is a yes? Amber, yes. Miss Laws, this is the same Range Rover, is it, that we saw in the document that you effectively listed as an item of property that you actually wanted to keep, is that right? Justice Nickel, which document? Ms. Laws, this is in Samantha Spector's letter and the declaration. It was the declaration that I took to you. And Justice Nickel, sorry, Ms. Laws, I've forgotten what the document was. paying attention, and Justice Nicole, paying attention. Miss Laws, I will take you to it. It's the divorce declaration, which was May 26. I can find the reference to it. It filed. Miss Laws, could you please at lines 9, 10, and 11? Amber, yes. Miss Laws, you can see there that this is a list of requests. Amber, yes. Miss Laws, that I went through earlier, possession of the Broadway residence, exclusive possession of the Range Rover vehicle. It is the same Range Rover as mentioned there that you were applying to have your name on the insurance for. Amber, I do not know when this text was sent, but yes, I was asking to have my name added to the insurance in case there was an accident, since it was my only car after Johnny took my Mustang. Miss Laws, I'm going to suggest that far from being so in love with Mr. Depp that you put up with untold repeated violence from him, you were at this stage, shortly after your return from Australia, making arrangements to have your name on the car. Amber, I was making arrangements to have my name on the insurance for the car I drove around Los Angeles because I had no other car after Johnny took it from me. When did she get her Mustang back? When was that filmed? When did she get it back? I got so many questions. Ms. Laws, we dealt with the point about whether he took it from you or not yesterday, did we not, my lord? I will leave it there for today. And that's that of that. That was day 11. And man, oh man, watching her squirm and watching her try to, she said nothing. All of these things happened, her nose, her lip, her wrists, her ankles, her this, her that, and she said nothing. She talked circles around Miss Laws. Dear God. Anyway, that's it. That's all. Have a wonderful day. I love you. I appreciate you, and I will definitely see you guys next time.